I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Hey everybody, it's Oops the Podcast. I'm Francis. He is
Giulio.
Gallerati. As always, we are bringing you the finest in fuck-ups, the best in bips, blow-ups, best in blow-ups.
Bips.
Just trying to go for alliteration there. This week we have a fantastic guest. It is the esteemed rapper Krills.
Also known as J. Krills.
Yeah, why don't you give us a little info about him?
Well, he's just a very interesting dude. Spent a little time in jail.
Yes.
We were excited to get our first incarcerated guest.
Our first incarcerated guest. Man, prison, what a place.
What a place. I'm excited to hear about it. He's an up-and-coming rapper. He was on tour with us last week over the Thanksgiving holidays, kind of like hanging out, helping out. He's a very funny, interesting guy, so we're excited about that.
So he'll be joining us for our Thursday episode. But for now, Giulio and I have a lot to tell you guys and a lot to discuss.
How was your week in Florida, dude?
Dude, Florida was good, man. It's a very low-key place. Boca Grande is the name of the island. There are a lot of pretty famous people that have houses down there. George Bush.
Where is it exactly? It's near Sarasota, you said?
It's like an hour and 10 minutes south of Sarasota, hour and a half north of Fort Myers.
Right. I remember this.
West Coast.
Yeah, nice, man. Beautiful.
So President George Bush has a house down there.
Which one?
The younger, the only one that's
gotcha.
still alive.
Oh, right. I
Of
forgot
the
it.
two.
HW.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he did the coin toss or something for the Super Bowl? He was just so old.
He was the oldest man in America for like 10 years. He just kept getting older and older. He was...
Yeah, we got to stop doing that. Who was it? Kirk Douglas at the Oscars?
Oh, the guy who fucked up the envelope?
No. That was Warren Beatty.
Yes.
Remember they wheeled a guy out last year in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Was that Kirk Douglas? Was it Charlton Heston? I think it was Kirk Douglas. And he could barely talk. He's like 100 and something years old.
Yeah, don't put those people
Don't put these people on TV, man. Like let them
sort of fade away
Yeah.
peacefully.
Yeah, right? You're like, you know what would be great? Like, let's get fucking Spartacus out here.
Let's highlight a person who doesn't look like a person anymore. If you have to be wheeled anywhere, you should probably...
Yeah, dude, 100%. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, I'm just hoping that I got everybody right in that story. There's a lot of moving parts.
I'm impressed.
Was it Kirk Douglas? Okay.
While Chris looks that up, the other two people famously that have houses on Boca Grande are, because it's a small island, it's a very small community. Nick Saban, head coach of Alabama football.
He coached in the NFL for a bit too, right?
He did famously in The Blind Side, right? Which was Michael Orr. That story by you guys know that?
It's about him?
Well, no. What happened was Michael Orr was recruited by Nick Saban to come play football. I can't even remember where he was coaching in college at that time. Maybe it was Georgia or something. Was it LSU? Yeah, it was LSU. So Nick Saban comes in, recruits him, and they really liked Nick Saban. I remember that Nick Saban commented on how lovely the drapes were in the house where Michael Orr lived.
Clever
So
fox.
his adoptive mother was very pleased and touched by that. And then shortly after he recruited him, Nick Saban went off to the NFL. So had he gone to play for LSU, they would have been pissed. So anyway, the whole point is Nick Saban's got a house down there. And you know who else has a house down there is Dabo Swinney, head coach of Clemson.
What's with all these good old American boys living down there?
Yeah. Apparently they like it for the privacy because nobody really bothers them. But Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban, the two guys, Clemson and Alabama have played in the national championship game. One of them has for the last, 7 or 8 years or something. And a lot of the time they face each other. So the two of these head coaches have a standing bet where if they meet in the national championship, the loser will buy the other a gift certificate for the one good restaurant on the island. It's called the Temptation.
Wow.
And what was crazy was the first year that they had this bet, Dabo Sweeney lost, and he gave Nick Saban a $250 gift certificate to the Temptation, right? With a note. And then the next year, Dabo Sweeney won, and Nick Saban lost. And Nick Saban gave him a $500 gift certificate, which
well
is, to me, it's the ultimate, like, my dick's bigger than yours, even though I lost. Yeah, pretty
like
good.
that. Competition.
Well, now that I'm writing for Bro Bible, I came across a story that I wrote today, which was about slave plantation weddings. A lot of people in the South are having weddings at former slave plantations. And a civil rights advocates group took issue with this, understandably, and reached out to Pinterest as well as The Knot, which is a wedding website, and said, hey, when you guys promote beautiful pictures of idyllic weddings at these former slave plantations, you're encouraging people to hold their weddings there. Please stop fucking doing that. And Pinterest and The Knot decided to take down those photos. So, here's a question.
Okay.
What type of people do you think are having their weddings and want to have their weddings at slave plantations?
Well, first of all, they're not slave plantations anymore. You know what I
No.
mean? So I understand the sentiment, but the people having the weddings there are definitely, I don't know, I can't speak for all of them, but I imagine most of them are drawn to the scenery as opposed to the dark history.
Okay.
If we dig into the history of anything, there's bad things there. You know what I mean?
True. That's true. But if you go vet a wedding site and you're like, wow, look at this incredible house here in Louisiana that has, ionic columns. I think that's the dead giveaway, right? The columns in front of the house, the big white columns.
I think any big house in the South is the giveaway.
Yeah, right. That's my point. You're really rolling the dice.
Right.
Right. So here's the point. In digging up this story, I found out that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively held their wedding at a former slave plantation.
Which one was it?
I can't remember.
Because, man, some of these places, like when you showed me that picture, one of the places is a very famous, well-known plantation in the South that's a tourist attraction. They filmed Interview with the Vampire there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It has a contemporary history besides apparently the past, which I didn't know about, but I guess it makes sense.
All right. But let's say this, okay? And I don't mean to equate atrocities and human rights violations. But if fucking Auschwitz had become some repurposed, stunningly charming farm, would you be okay holding your wedding there?
Well, it's different, dude, because Auschwitz isn't beautiful.
No, but
Auschwitz has fucking gas chambers in it, and it's a museum.
All right, let's think of a different,
A better comparison. I get what you're
comparison.
saying, and whatever. I understand why they would reach out. This what happened in the South, and what is still happening today, as far as just like racial discrimination. It makes our country inferior, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It sucks. It's definitely like a scar on our country's history that we're working through and trying to get better about. You know what I mean? As a whole. But I don't know. I forget where I was going with that.
Here's a better comparison. In Cambodia, they have the killing fields.
Right.
And this is a tourist attraction you can go to where literally tens of thousands of bodies are buried under the ground from the
Pol Pot.
Yeah, exactly. The fucking cleansing that the government did. And those are fields. So let's say that those places were available to rent as a wedding venue.
Well, isn't there a guy who actually killed the people who now acts out the killings of the people? Didn't that win an Academy Award, that documentary? It's literally called The Killing.
Really?
Yeah, some guy who used to do it, they never like charged him with anything, and now he kind of like does these recreations of it. I don't know, whatever. I see what you're saying. I think it's different because it's a third world country. They're not like worried about their human rights yet. They're trying to like make sure everybody can eat.
Okay. The 9/11 Memorial. That's a beautiful place with those incredible fountains.
Right.
Right? Where the towers used to stand. Imagine how much of an asshole you'd have to be if you were like, I want to have my wedding at the 9/11 Memorial. I think universally, everyone would recognize That is not acceptable.
Well, what if you had lost a family member in 9/11?
That's my point.
That
I'm
would
saying
be acceptable then.
If
just saying.
you lost a family member in 9/11, you're not going to have your fucking wedding at the place where it
that's
happened
sadistic, you're right.
for the sake of honoring their memory. No way, Jose.
No, you're fine. But that also just happened.
Right.
I don't know. There's something about time that, like I would argue that the stuff with the South in the past of our country or whatever, that stuff happened just long enough ago that people are having weddings and not thinking about it, but that people are upset that people are having weddings there.
That's a fair point.
It's like the perfect amount of time. If it was another few hundred years, people would probably completely forget.
Well, it speaks to why a lot of people really don't feel that much, the cause of the Native Americans is just not something that America as a whole seems to feel that much sympathy for.
Right.
And I'm not agreeing with that. I'm just saying, like, nobody seems to give a shit.
No, true. And unfortunately, it kind of is one of those things where it just is what it is now.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I wasn't around then when we were just like exterminating Native Americans.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel bad about it, I guess, but I'm not thinking about it all the time.
Right.
And that's wrong. But
it happened so long ago. I say that it was really the mid 1800s where the west of America was expanding, and the Texas Rangers were going out, and Samuel Colt had finally developed the 6-shooter repeating revolver, which was given to the marshals, the Texas Rangers, because up to that point, the horse tribes of the Midwest Plains were absolutely dominating the white men and the pioneers and the settlers, because they were able to fire arrows from horseback, and we did not know how to ride fucking horses, so we were getting murked.
right.
And then Colt came out with this weapon that evened the score. Whatever. Let's fucking stop talking about this shit.
No, but dude, it's interesting. But yeah, like what's that book? Guns, Germs, and Steel.
I haven't read that.
And it's about like how like white Europeans conquer the world. The reasons why. I don't know. And those obviously being the three important components.
Well, this is why I love that you're my co-host, because you and I often tend to have different opinions on things. So you don't think that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds should have been a little bit more aware and sympathetic to the fact that the wedding venue they chose was a place that had lots of slaves.
Okay, so I think that I don't think we can be mad at them for it. However, now that they've brought this point, now that there's been a push to bring up the point that there's this bad history behind some of these things, that we should be more aware about it, I think that's fair of them to do. I think it's a complicated situation, maybe, definitely. But now I don't think it's wrong of Pinterest to want to kind of like tread around that and figure it out now.
Yeah. So Pinterest is doing their part to stop promoting the beauty of these things.
It's not completely unfair.
No, I think if you're a celebrity of the caliber of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, you gotta be fucking smarter, right?
Well, they wouldn't, if they had the wedding today, they wouldn't do it the same way.
You think?
100%. They didn't know. Like,
It's
they weren't
interesting.
thinking about it. These are fucking actors. They're not, they don't work for the UN or whatever. Not that working for the UN, but you know what I mean. They're not they're not people who are probably extensively informed about every situation with history. They probably saw this pretty farm and were like, oh, we should have our wedding there.
Yeah, maybe.
You
It
think
was
that
2014 when they got married. That's not that long.
So you think they should have known?
I think.
Are you mad
I
at
think
them
their
about it?
wedding planner has to be like, we have this beautiful site for you. It's known as this farm or whatever. It's a historically preserved place. I should mention, by the way,
You're right.
that the grounds that you will be walking down once, were walked by slaves.
Right. Well, then should we no longer be able to go to Monticello to see?
Monticello has been preserved as a historical site.
So that's different. Okay, you're
You
right.
can't have. I don't
It's a
think you can have
museum.
a wedding.
It's a
there.
museum. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And they
That's
lay
Thomas
bare
Jefferson's house, by the way.
Yeah, Jefferson's house. They lay bare the whole history of it. So
Right.
there is a completely transparent recognition of the fact that slaves were there, of the fact that Thomas Jefferson you know, what was that? What was his like lover's wife's name? Was it
What, his like slave lover?
the one that he loved and had children with?
I
that
forget,
everyone talks
but I
about?
know, yeah.
Addie? I was like, nah, I don't know.
Well, dude, also like,
That's a good point, though. That's a good
yeah,
kind of argument.
You're right, though.
Sally Hemings. Yeah.
Sally
right.
Hemings. You know, it's one of those things, like you said, maybe you should be disclosing that kind of stuff. Because when you buy a house, if someone got fucking murdered in the house, you're legally bound to have to tell them.
There you go.
So I guess you're right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Jefferson, really quick, I did write another blog, which was ranking the best U.S. currency denominations for ingesting cocaine this holiday season.
I saw that. Did you say the $2 bill?
I said the $2 bill
Son
was
of a
my number
bitch.
one. Most people would say the 100, right? That's the kind of the one you
Right.
expect.
Because they reprint them.
They do, and the 100 is so crisp, and
Right.
it goes hand in hand with, you know, the wealth and the cleanliness of cocaine.
With fucking cracking queso off a mirror, dude.
Yeah, exactly. But I said the $2 bill because you can only get them from the Tooth Fairy. I mean,
That's pretty funny.
the Tooth Fairy and the post office, as far as I can tell, are the only places to get $2 bills.
Can you name every person on every bill and coin?
As a result of writing this blog now, I can.
Okay.
I don't know about every coin.
Well, I mean, the coins, I mean, we only have a few coins.
Okay, who's on the quarter?
Washington,
Washington. Who's on the penny?
Lincoln,
Wow. Who's on the nickel?
Jefferson. Is that wrong? Is it
That might be right. That might be right.
Chris, can we get a check on that?
The dime is Eisenhower? That can't be right.
Oh, fuck. Do I have a dime in my pocket?
The thing is, the dime is so small that you can't even tell.
Let's take a look at this. The dime, the nickel's got to be Jefferson. I'm looking at it right now. I happen to have every denomination of coin in my
This is
pocket.
incredible.
I believe it's Franklin Roosevelt.
FDR?
It looks like him.
What is it?
The dime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
The 50 cent is Kennedy.
Those are cool. So those are other Tooth Fairy pieces. Yeah.
And is that another thing for doing bumps of cocaine?
Yeah, well, I said the Sacagawea golden dollar because she is on that coin with her baby infant swaddled over her shoulder, and there's something so cute about blowing lines of coke off a baby's forehead. That's what I said.
That's great.
Also, not for nothing, cocaine shows up better on a golden coin than a silver coin.
Hey, man, listen. Amen, brother. The biggest wild card of currency's got to be Alexander Hamilton on the 10.
How about that, right?
That's the only. Is that the only non-president? No, Benjamin Franklin is on the 100.
Franklin is on the 100.
Everybody else is presidents, I believe.
But Hamilton was on the 10 because he was the first Treasury Secretary.
Ah.
And he also I think he built the first central bank. And so a lot of our monetary structure in America is attributed to him
Interesting.
and the vision that he had. I don't know. I'm not getting that from
Well,
the
this
fucking musical.
now a lot of Lin-Manuel Miranda parallels now in this episode.
How about that?
I remember my brother went to Wesleyan, and during his commencement speech, Lin-Manuel Miranda gave it, and it was right when Hamilton was becoming popular. I had no idea who he was, and I was like, "Who's this fucking bozo rapping?"
Did he rap at the commencement
You guys
speech?
are gonna graduate, and it was just so dude, it was so cringy, bro. I was like, "Who is this fucking guy?"
Yeah.
But then he just blew up.
Yeah, he did. He's a huge celeb now.
Huge star. I just remember being like, God, fucking snooze city.
Dude, it's yo, I saw him in his first musical, which was called In the Heights.
Oh yeah,
And I think
he
it was
wrote
about Queens, right?
Washington Heights, I
Washington
believe.
Heights. And he wrote that and
No way.
did that, and it was the first musical where anyone had ever like rapped in a musical.
Ah.
And I remember my mom pitching it to me, being like, "Yeah, it's kind of supposed to be like Stomp a little bit, but people are raving about it." And we went as a family, and I remember being like, "I can't follow any of this shit.
Wow.
They are singing too fucking fast.
Oh, right.
What is going on here?"
That's hilarious.
And there was cool dancing though. That was the best part. The dancing was cool. And then years later, of course, Hamilton came out and just like
Eviscerated
every fucking white person on earth had to get tickets and then brag about how they'd gone
Oh,
to see
God.
Hamilton and post on Instagram of them standing in front of the marquee.
It was the next Book of Mormon.
Yeah, and then you had all these people that would go like a year after, and you knew that they weren't seeing it with the original cast. And then I just wanted to be like, dude, you shouldn't even be posting about that. That's embarrassing.
Oh yeah, nice man.
Like, oh, you saw Hamilton? Yeah, I remember when I saw it with the original cast, and then sorry, you went with this total JV squad of actors that have replaced it because everyone else who was on the first cast moved on to bigger and better things.
Right. The Sunday 11 a.m. show 3 years later.
Oh, you saw the Torco version of the musical
in
when
Colorado?
It rolled through Denver. There's a fucking roving band of gypsies that came into the town with their dogs,
Carnies.
walking behind the fucking float.
Oh, it's hilarious, dude.
That's great.
Good stuff.
Let's talk about some of the oops of the week. What do we got?
All right, guys. So thank you for giving us some good mistakes and oopses. We're excited to share them. This one is from Danielle. So here it goes. Major Thanksgiving oops that relates to you both. We love this, right, Francis?
That's presumptuous, but okay.
It's long, but hopefully worth the read. It's actually not that long, and we appreciate that.
0 for 2, Danielle.
I'm a content writer and serve in a restaurant on the side. Today, I worked a banquet and hooked up my phone to play Christmas music for the whole room. I hadn't realized oops was in my queue. Immediately after Frosty the Snowman, the first 2.5 minutes of Ginger Pride played before I noticed. She's referring to our episode with Nathan McIntosh a couple weeks ago. She goes, I quickly played a Christmas song and cleared my queue, but not before the entire room filled with kids and families on Thanksgiving heard Nathan shout variations of fuck for a good 20 seconds. 2 tables complained about the music choices. I personally apologized to them and explained what had happened. That's fucking great.
That's fantastic.
Oh, wait, sorry, it's not over. Explain what had happened. They were super nice about it, but I was mortified. On the bright side, maybe you'll have a few more listeners after today.
Yeah, well done, Danielle. That's fantastic.
That's how we do it, Danielle.
That's a great oops. That's a great oops. Yeah, that's almost right up there with like porn coming on, when you see like fucking great. Whenever there's like a college professor that's like doing a presentation and they open up their laptop and like porn comes on the screen or something.
And something right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm coming out of my tight hole.
Get it good. That's fantastic. Kids, man. Nathan McIntosh screaming about, what the fuck? Like, what? I've been a ginger my whole life. What are you saying? What are you saying here? What the fuck are you talking about?
That's pretty good.
That's fantastic. I could just hear him blasting that sermon out to children, all of whom probably have no idea what he's talking about. It's such a specific subject we were on.
That's hilarious.
That's great. Love that. Good oops. Yep.
Okay, here's another one from Molly, I believe, judging by her handle. I had wrapped a sex position calendar I planned on giving to my boyfriend on Christmas and accidentally brought it to my family Christmas. He unwrapped the gift in front of my whole family, and it was our first Christmas together. That's pretty good.
That's great.
That sucks.
Yeah, why would he? You got to be careful with something like that, Put that gift in a different place.
Dude, the roles, too, in that situation are fantastic. It's the girl whose parents are there for her Christmas, and she gave it to her boyfriend, who then opened it. And like, let's see what you got there.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, oh, wow.
It's so not his fault at all, and yet still he's going to be the one under the heat lamp for the rest of the week.
Oh, dude. I mean, I stayed at my girlfriend's house in Chicago last weekend, and just the idea of like waking up at your girlfriend's house all like groggy and then being like, good morning. And then like, you want some coffee? Like, that is unbearable. The idea of that makes me so uncomfortable. I can't imagine opening a sex position calendar in front of her dad.
Oh, boy. And especially because those calendars, there's 30 to 31 days in a month, you're seeing depictions of at least 25 sex positions that nobody fucking uses.
Oh, wow. I didn't think of that.
Where feet are wrapped around necks.
The pretzel?
And all kinds of fucking weird Brazilian jiu-jitsu iterations that have been morphed for ejaculatory purposes. It's
expert position.
Yeah, it's so stupid. I mean, D'Elia also talks about this on his podcast. He said that there really are, get the fuck out of here. There are 5 sex positions, right?
Right.
It's missionary, doggy, girl on top facing you, girl on top facing away, and I guess spoon.
Right.
But, fuck spoon. boon.
Right.
Such a nightmare. So anything beyond that, yeah, your dad and your mom are going to be like, wow, I hope you're not going to do that on March 7th.
Oh my dude, it's bad. It's bad in every scenario. If the dad isn't cool, it's bad, and if he is cool, it's even worse.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, so it's March 7th today.
Oh, this is the day where they were going to get that lamp involved.
That's bad, dude. Jesus.
Also, imagine how much of a nightmare it would be to have sex every single day of a month. Oh, at my age, forget
about it.
Forget
about it. No shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's what I wanted to ask you about. When you go and visit your girlfriend's family,
Mm-hmm.
do they make you two sleep in different bedrooms?
So this is funny, actually. No, they absolutely don't.
Right.
But she thought that they would, or she was like, so I remember the first time I stayed over, she's like, should we sleep in different rooms? Like she suggested, her parents were like, he's in his 30s. Like, absolutely not.
Well, that makes me think that you were like the first boyfriend she'd ever brought home.
No, I don't know. No. She had a boyfriend for a while before me.
But she clearly didn't know the family policy.
That's true. I wonder about that.
Hmm.
But they were younger, maybe. I'm not sure. It's
Hmm.
interesting.
It's pretty old fashioned at this point, I think, to have parents that say that you need to sleep in different bedrooms.
Well, especially if you're deep into adulthood.
Yeah, and they know that you two sleep in, it just seems like such a ridiculous thing to stick to if you know that the couple is spending the night with each other all the time.
Right. And also, like, but I don't understand how that could how or why that's a policy. I get if it's a religious thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I can't imagine somebody enforcing that. If it's the boyfriend.
I've only ever seen it with very, very traditional families.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But dude, one challenge that I have anytime if I'm in my girl's bed or if I'm on the road in a hotel, there's something about fucking pillows where like I need them to be a specific height and density, but that height and density changes every night.
Oh, it sure does.
So some nights 2 pillows works and on other nights I need to do 1. Does that happen to you?
Yes, but I know I've figured out why.
Why?
Dude, I have a Tempur-Pedic pillow here that's really firm. That is the perfect pillow for me. So I'm always trying to recreate that wherever I am. And a lot of pillows on the road are super thin and bullshit deflated pillows. And that's when I have to use 2.
But what for the Tempur-Pedic one, is that particular Tempur-Pedic always work for you in your bed every single time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your bed changes in your own home bed?
My pillow distribution changes in my own bed.
What the hell?
Am I the only person? If any of you guys agree with me, please let us know because I'm wondering about this.
That's crazy.
But yeah, dude, like some nights on like last night, for example, and I know like I have a couple that are thicker and a couple that are thinner, and some nights I'll need like the thinner one on the bottom and the thicker one on top, or some nights I can't use the thick one at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a crazy thing that like fucks up my sleep.
Well, that is also, you're probably going to get some crazy neck issues too. Do you sleep on your back?
I usually sleep on my stomach.
That's not good for you.
Is it not? Why?
You're not supposed to sleep on your stomach.
You don't think so?
You're talking flat out body. Yeah, like.
Yeah, Chris is demonstrating, and I actually do put one leg up as a matter of fact.
Dude, you gotta transition
pillow
to
underneath the leg. Why?
You gotta transition to be. I know what you're talking about. You gotta transition to sleeping on your back.
Why is that?
It's better for your neck and better for your back.
Really?
Yeah.
But I have no neck or back problems.
Not now. Not now. That come talk to me in 15 years.
God damn it. And they also say it's bad for your skin to sleep on your face.
Yeah, sure is.
I feel like my skin's all right.
It does look good. But if you have to wear creams and stuff at night, all that shit's going right into the fucking pillow.
Well, hopefully I've already absorbed the creams.
No. Creams absorb throughout the night.
They do?
It's a slow burn. It's a soak.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just making this stuff up. I don't really know much about dermatology.
Dude, this is a shift, but I saw this commercial the other day, and it's always funny to see subtle elitism and racism in commercials.
Sure.
Like, have you ever heard of the company Viking River Cruises?
I think so.
It's supposed to be this fancy cruise line.
Okay.
And in the ad, at one point, the woman says, and I forget the amount of passengers it is, let's say 50. A place for 50 like-minded travelers. To me, that is just essentially being racist and elitist.
Why would it be racist?
Like-minded passengers, because like-minded implies that everybody is a certain level that they can either afford or and it's excluding people. It's like, this is expensive, only you can afford it, therefore we are now calling the elites like-minded.
Well, I can understand it more on an elitism spectrum, but I don't know about racism.
There just feels like there's undertones of racism in that.
Is it because it's called Viking Quest?
Viking
Cruise lines?
like maybe, but that doesn't bother you?
For me, I think that they're probably just saying, like, we want people who enjoy being on cruises.
50 like-minded passengers.
Yeah, like everybody comes on board and they're like, oh man, I love cruises. What's the buffet? Ooh, might they have a comedian to perform? Let's all go to the show together and make friends and carry on together for the rest of our lives.
But this is the best cruise line that exists. The fanciest, exclusive.
Oh.
They advertise on the tennis channel.
Wow.
Viking. And the woman has an accent like this for 85 like-minded passengers.
Wow. Well, but okay, so that is interesting. 50 passengers is really not that many people for a cruise. So maybe is it super elite?
Maybe. I don't know. But these like-minded passengers, people who can afford it. The woman sounds as white as you can be.
I think that anybody on that boat is going to be happy to be there, right? So maybe that's where the like-mindedness comes from.
That's what their PR team would say. Clever. High society.
Oh, you're casting me as like a Viking cruise line, staunch advocate, somebody who goes on these cruises all the time and is glad when there aren't any minorities on board.
Right.
But that's not the case. I would never go on a cruise. I really wouldn't.
I've never been on one of you.
No. No. Pass.
Doesn't seem like fun. Or like a cruise. Never.
You ever done a cruise gig?
No. Have you?
No.
Never.
I know Graham K does them all the time.
Does he do them all the time? I know
Yeah.
he's done them.
It's hard.
Yeah, he has a good attitude. He's a pretty stoic fella.
Yeah, he just bangs it out. But
yeah, you have to have 2 clean hours.
yeah.
And you can't swear at all because it's all ages.
And you can't like repeat your jokes because people come to like 2 shows. So you
Right.
have to do two totally separate hours. Tough. That's a very demanding.
What?
Oh, the clink?
Why? Just in case you have to
In case
quarantine a
somebody
passenger?
murders somebody.
Whoa.
Chris is talking about how cruise ships have jails on them. I think you're reading a lot of pirate fiction. Anyway, this has been Oops the Podcast. That's pretty much all we need. You guys are great. Thanks for sticking with us, listening to us.
We love you.
As we said, later on this week, we'll have Jay Krill's rapper extraordinaire also has done some time at Rikers, and we're going to explore all of that on Thursday. As for now, it's me at Francis C.C. Ellis. He's at Not Julio. Thanks so much for listening to Oops the Podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.